Welcome to the 2017 Oklahoma Bigfoot Symposium video series that was hosted by the MABRC. A great time was had by all that attended. The MABRC invited all to attend one of the research areas to experience the life of a researcher. All the speakers gave an excellent presentation, starting with Henry Edge, Carrie Martin, and Debbie Jones from the all-female research group Sisters of the Moon. Robert Swain, director of the Arkansas Primate Evidence Society, better known as APES, spoke on the breakdown of statistics with citing reports from Arkansas and his soon-to-be-released book. Noted cryptozoology author and filmmaker Lyle Blackburn spoke on the history of the folk Arkansas and sightings from the past to the present. Jim Whitehead of the MABRC State Director for Oklahoma gave an excellent presentation on the history of primates titled Planet of the Apes. Mark Sawdust Newbill, the MABRC State Director for Tennessee and founder of Beast, gave an in-depth look at the research being done at Land Between the Lakes. Bernie Wall talked about what we look for in the woods, and Randy Savick, the MABRC State Director for Missouri, broke down some captured audio from the Memorial Expedition. We hope you enjoy this video series and hope to see you at the next 2018 Symposium.
And I don't want to be Bigfoot love slave either, so that's just something I just don't want to do. So I'm glad you guys are out. I hope you have, if you have questions, this is the place to find answers. There's a lot of good researchers here with a lot of experience in the woods. If you've had any kind of situation where you think this might be Bigfoot related, talk to them and they can probably clarify that for you. And so this is a really good place for you to be. I asked DW, what do I need to talk about this year? Because this is my 5th year speaking at this conference. And I said, I don't want to do the same stuff over and over again. And he said, well, just talk about what's happening in Arkansas. And I said, oh, great. You know, these Oklahoma people, they don't want to know what's happening in Arkansas. But I am going to tell you a little bit about that. But geographically and socially and historically, what's happened in Oklahoma has happened in Arkansas. We are sister states. And the stuff that's happening there is probably very, very similar to what's happening here. And so maybe you can glean a little bit out of that. I am the director of the Arkansas Primate Evidence Society, and it spells apes, so we're big hairy apes in the woods, looking for big hairy apes in the woods. I'm in the real world, I am a preacher for the Church of Christ. I preach in Bologna, Arkansas. We also do about 3 months out of the year overseas missionary work. So I'm in Ireland, I'm in Romania, I'm in the Dominican Republic, I've been in India, well, my boy is 19 and he's been in 28 countries. So we travel quite a bit, but when I'm not doing that, I like to be in the woods. This is a great hobby. I'm not a great big hunter, but I love being in the woods. And let's just face it, it's not everybody that can say that you're a monster hunter. You know, I kind of like that too. I have never had a sighting, although I saw something yesterday that I don't know what it was. It was about 50 yards from me, and it crossed the road very quickly. And from that distance, I could tell that it was my size, if not bigger. And I had that distinct impression of that football player that's carrying the football here, and how he's bent over and he's waiting for that tackle, but he's still running. That's kind of how it looked. It was like this, and it took 2 steps and it was across the road, really fast. It was this guy with the coffee cup right here. It was the color of your shirt, right there. That's the color that it was. It's just kind of a dull, dusty brown, and but it was big and it was fast, and I don't know what it was. I saw 2 legs, and it didn't have 4 legs. So was it Bigfoot? I don't know. But it was something, and it was pretty close to our camp out at where we're camped. But I've been a Bigfoot field researcher since 2007. Before that, I was an armchair squatcher. You know what that is? That's what you are. You know, you watch the shows on TV, you read the books, you're interested in it, but you don't get out in the woods. And finally, I just decided, well, why are they having all the fun and I'm not? And so I started going out in the woods and using my little boy as Bigfoot bait, and it worked out pretty well. I also serve on the board of directors of the Alliance of Independent Bigfoot Researchers, and that's a national organization, and you can probably find that on the internet if you're interested. And I have a couple of books. They're all out of print right now, and I apologize. I don't have anything with me, but the Lab Squatch book here, back in 2007, I started drawing little cartoons like the Far Sides, and they're all about Bigfoot. And I've got two books out now. The second book is being published right now, and I've done a couple of other things. So go ahead, DW. All right. Arkansas Primate Evidence Society. I want to talk about a little bit about what's happening in Arkansas. Go ahead. All right. This is the state of Arkansas. If you don't know it, Oklahoma is here. Okay. This is where you live. Okay. That's where I live. And this is just a composite place to show you where the cluster of sightings. Right now, I have a database of 1,100 sightings and encounters just in Arkansas. Just in Arkansas, 1,100. And thanks to Big Jim back here, he provided me. I had about 400 or 500, and I thought I was in tall cotton. You know, I was really glad. And he comes along, he gives me 600 more. You know, that he doesn't even live in Arkansas, and he had that many. So I've crunched the numbers. That's something that's really that's really important. But 1,100 sightings in that little state. There's 75 counties in Arkansas, and all 75 counties have reports. That's amazing. There's not a county, there's not an inch of Arkansas that doesn't have this. Of course, down here is where Falk is, and there's by far in Miller County, there's more sightings there. I have about 142, I think, sightings just out of that one county. If you want more information about that, go on the internet or get Lyle's books out here, because he's done a great job in that corner. But up here in the Boston Mountains, there's a lot going on. I live in the central part of the state, and there's a lot going on here. Pulaski County, where Little Rock is, has probably the third amount of sightings in the whole state. I don't think there's more animals there, but I think there's more people to see them there because it's a bigger city. And so that's really our clusters right there. In the last 40 years, I really hate that we can't see this. In the last 40 years, there's been 300 sightings in Arkansas, just in the last 40 years. And that's important. There's going to be 400 reported sightings in the United States just this year, thanks to the internet. Before the internet, you didn't get very many, but now it makes it easier for people to come and do their reports and almost be anonymous in doing so. And you can't see this right here, but this is really important. If one person is telling the truth, if one person has actually seen an animal, if one person has a true report, then Bigfoot is real. Isn't that amazing? One report, that's all it takes. And that's really compelling to me. Go ahead to the next. There we go. Here's a couple of things that were important in Arkansas. Arkansas had the very first nationwide Bigfoot report. It was in the Philadelphia newspaper. It was in the New York newspaper. It was in the Los Angeles newspaper way back in 1853. Where in close to in Greene County, Arkansas, where somebody saw a giant hairy man chasing cows in a field, and it caught the press, and it was the first one nationwide. So we can pat ourselves on the back about that. In 1867, some three horsemen roped a creature and put it in the jail in Benton, Arkansas. and it was there overnight. They went to feed it the next morning, and it had pulled the window out of the wall and had escaped. And so it was one of the first captures that's ever happened. And this 1972, how many of you guys have seen Legend of Boggy Creek? Raise your hand, be honest. It's a campy show, but it's really compelling too, isn't it? I think 99.9% of all Bigfoot researchers, if you ask them, how'd you get started with this? Because, well, when I was a kid, we went to the drive-in movie, and we saw this movie called Legend of Boggy Creek. And it was same with me. And when I was in high school in Conway, close to Conway, Arkansas, in Bologna, on my spring break of my junior year, I decided I was going to go to Fouke, Arkansas, and do Bigfoot research. And so I looked around, found his number, and I called Smokey Crabtree. And I went down, and the Smokey drove me around to these places and showed me where, excuse me, where I needed to camp for the week. I was going to spend the whole week doing Bigfoot research by myself. I lasted one night. Man, I scared myself silly. Everything in the woods was something coming to eat me. And so I thought, man, this isn't for me. And I just resigned myself as an armchair squatcher till 2007. So it's never too late. Jump into the woods and look around. That's really important. But this is some of the things that make Arkansas kind of unique, that they've had this kind of experience and this kind of heritage. And it's still going on today. I think one of the things that you're going to find in when you read Lyle's books, both of his books, is that at the Boggy Creek area in Fouke, it didn't stop when the movie stopped. It's continued on now. And the reason why there's so many sightings now, I think this movie kind of empowered people down there to say, hey, I saw something without being ridiculed, because there was kind of evidence for that. Go ahead, DW.
It's going.
Okay, all right, here we go. I hope these are some of the things that I wanted to mention right now that's going on that I'm investigating in Arkansas. We have a Fouke expedition each year in February. And every time we've gone down there, we've got crazy audio, crazy things recorded. We've had sightings of these animals. Big Jim has been able to cast, I think, footprints every year that we've been down there. It's just
First one.
well, it was, yeah, and it's really been a hot spot, and that's going on. If you ever wanted just to go down and camp at Fouke, I'm not going to guarantee, because I can't do that, but there's a high likelihood that you're going to get some kind of activity down there. What a great vacation place, huh? Just go in the wintertime when the mosquitoes aren't out. That's what I would encourage you to do. Another thing that's happening right now is down at Neenah, Arkansas, and I've been looking at this for like the last month. A man contacted me and said, we're finding footprints that are 18 inches long underneath our windows on a regular basis. Something is walking up to their house and looking in their windows at them at night. And so 18 inches, that's a big guy. He said something has been raiding his garden, and sometimes the whole garden is just stripped of any kind of vegetables. It's just not there. He's got fruit trees, and he says up to 12 foot tall, all the fruit's gone off of his trees. And a lot of the limbs were broken. And just 2 weeks ago, he said, something's pulled my rain gutter off of my house. It's that tall that it could reach up there and pull it off of his house. So that's ongoing right now. So if you want to go down to Neenah, that's probably a good spot to find something as well. Also, within the last month, the end of last month, a teacher from the Guy Perkins School in Guy, Arkansas, contacted me, and she said, we have several hundred acres on a farm, and I was driving down our long road, and I saw something cross on all four legs, and I thought it was a bear. She got all excited it was a bear, until when it crossed the road, it stood up, and it stepped over a 4-foot fence, and it walked into the trees on 2 legs. And she says, that was not a bear. And she got all excited about that. I said, okay, I'll come out. I'll come out when I have a chance. It'll probably be next weekend before I can. And then she called me the very next day. And she said, we have a 17-year-old boy, and he was walking down one of the roads going to a stock pond. He was going to do some bass fishing. It's a big pond. And he was walking down that road, and something threw something at him. Now, I've had little rocks thrown at me almost all night down at Falcon, a couple of other places, that, you know, what's throwing the rocks? You know, squirrels won't do that. Porcupines can't do that. You know, possums can't do that. What's throwing rocks at me? I've had pine cones thrown at me too. What can do that? This boy, when he was walking down the road, something was lobbed at him from the trees, and it bounced and landed at his feet, and it was the severed head of a rabbit. And it wasn't cut off, but something had pulled the head off of the body of that rabbit and threw it at him, and it rolled at his feet. And so what did the boy do? He took off home. And that was exactly what that Bigfoot wanted to have happen, is get out of my territory. And so we went and we investigated. The boy still has the rabbit head in the freezer. he put it in a bag and he froze it. And so that's kind of some of the highlights of things that are happening. Yes?
Where was that?
That was at Guy, Arkansas. It's close to Quitman and Greenbrier, if you know where that is. Just north of where we live, about 20 miles from my house. And I was thinking, boy, I wish somebody would throw a rabbit head at me. But I haven't had that happen yet. Haven't had that happen. Oh. Where'd he go? There it is. How'd you do that? Man, you're good. Wow. I'm in the process of writing a book about Arkansas, Bigfoot in Arkansas, and I've been doing this for 4 years. I'm a great starter at things, but I don't know how to end it, because this is where my database is, and it seems like every month I'm adding to the database. So where do you cut it off? And so I'm having a hard time doing that, but hopefully this is the year to do that. Like I said, I have 1,100 Bigfoot encounters in Arkansas, all 75 counties. The reports range from 1835 to last month. Okay, so this is everything that I've been able to find. And one of the most important things, and what I'm going to talk about, is this database allows us to crunch the numbers, to see who's seeing what, and seeing what they're seeing. And so that's really what I want to talk about today. And so why don't you go ahead and go to the next. Okay, here we go. This is my disclaimer. I am not a professional statistician, and I don't play one on television either, okay? This is just me doing these numbers, crunching the numbers. The numbers are only as good as the information listed. So the reports that I find, if it talks about a color of an animal, I'll add that into the percentages, but there's a lot of reports where it doesn't even talk about the color of an animal. They just saw something. So I'm just using the information that I have at this time. And so that's important. These numbers are taken only from eyewitness reports in this database. If I can find the report, I use that, but I'm not using things from out of state or other things that I don't know about, just this database. And I've taken these reports at face value. And I have no reason to doubt the witness. He could be telling a lie. It could be a fabrication, or it could be the real thing. And it's not my place to say, oh, he's truthful and he's not truthful. I'm just presenting the information, and you can make that decision yourself, or you have all the information that you need to find these people and contact these people out of this database when it comes out in the book. So if you want more information, you're feel free to find out about that. But I'm just using the information that's there, and if they're lying to us, that's on them and not on me. And so I'm just that's my disclaimer right there. Go ahead to the next one. You're really handy, man. I can't believe that. Okay, this says who sees a Bigfoot? Okay, out of all of the information that I could find, 50% were adult males that claimed to see Bigfoot. Okay? Now, keep in mind that these are just people that report these sightings, because there's probably a couple of thousand reports that never get reported. They say, I'm not going to tell anybody. People think I'm crazy. You know, they're not going to do that. But these are the people that report. 50% were adult males. 20% were adult females. Why so low? Most hunters are male, right? That's the reason I put that picture up there, because they're out in the woods and they're allowing themselves in a situation where they're going to be able to see something. The next one was 20% were adolescent males. Why is that? Because dumb boys are out in the woods, right? And that's where the Bigfoot is too. 8% were reported as family groups. People were having a picnic or something, and the whole family sees something. And then 2% were adolescent females. Why so low? Because most little girls aren't by themselves in the woods, right? And I think that's the reason for that. So 50% male. So if you're a guy sitting out there, you got a good chance of seeing one of these things. Go to the next one. Okay, what were the witnesses doing when the sighting happened? Based upon all of my information, 31% were driving. You have an opportunity when you're in your car, you're driving probably faster, even on country roads, than these animals can get away from the road and stay hidden. There's probably a lot of times you miss seeing a Bigfoot by seconds because it stepped into the tree line and you never knew it was there. But sometimes people get lucky. 31% of all these people were driving, 20% were hunting. Okay, 20% were hunting, only 16 were fishing, 9 were camping, 7% were hiking, and 6% they were outside. Yeah, they were outdoors. They might have been in their yard, they may have been having a picnic, like I said, or a barbecue, or walking somewhere. They were outside and they saw something, and 6% were farmers, farming, and then only 5% were squatching. Now, if you've been here all weekend like me, sleeping in your car, looking like a vagabond, eating whatever you could find in your floorboard, you know, maybe 5% is not worth it. I don't know, but I kind of think it is. So, out of all of these, driving, that accidental eyewitness is the highest. All right, let's go to the next one. All right. Okay, Bigfoot around the clock. When are they seen? Based upon my information, 67% are seen at nighttime, at night. There are people that claim, well, these things aren't nocturnal. I think they are. And the main reason I think they're nocturnal is that we're not. We are probably their only enemy in the woods. They're the apex predator out there, but they can't handle our intrusion into their forest. They can't handle our weaponry that we have. So we're their enemy, and if we're out in the woods in the daytime, guess what? They're not. They're out in the woods at nighttime, 67%. Yes, you ever?
Has anybody ever witnessed a female Sasquatch?
Oh, yes. Lots of times. In fact, the most famous video that we have back in 1967 was a female Sasquatch, and they nicknamed her Patty. And you can get on the internet and type in Bigfoot Patty video, and it'll come up, and you can see it. You've probably already seen it, and you don't even know it. But yeah, lots of female Bigfoot, lots of male Bigfoot, lots of juvenile Bigfoot, little guys. Okay, so good question. 14% were seen in the morning. 8% were seen in daylight only. 11% were seen in the evening. So before night and after night, a higher percentage, but during the day, like yesterday when I saw something at about 4:30 in the afternoon, is a rare thing. They're just not out and about during daylight hours. It's always nighttime or dusk or daybreak. All right, you done. Okay, Sightings month by month. And I listed all 12 here, and keep in mind this is Arkansas, and this may differ regionally, but this is what I found in our database here. The highest was October with 15%. Why October? Hunting season. People all of a sudden are in mass droves out in the woods, and they're seeing things out in the woods. That's the reason October is high. The next highest was June with 14%. Maybe because school is out and people are out in the woods, they're camping with their families, or kids are out and about, and it's not Arkansas in July and August when it gets so stinking hot. It's just hot, not stinking hot yet. So maybe people are out and able to see those as well. January is 10%, February is 7%, March 5%, April 7%, May 7%, and then July 10%, August 7%, I think because it's hot, and then to September 8, November 6, December 4. Why November and December so low? It's winter time. Maybe it's probably at the end of deer season. A lot of people aren't there. They've already filled their tags, and they're not out in the woods.
Bigfoot went to go see their relatives for the holidays.
There you go. Okay, that's right. All right. Okay. So this is how it stacks up in Arkansas month by month. So if you were going to go out in the woods and look, I would go in either June or October, just because that's the highest percentage. Okay, go ahead. Okay, location. Isn't that what we always heard? That's important. This is where the sightings took place. 22% were found on roads and trails. Like yesterday, something crossed the road in front of me. I don't know what it is, but had that road not been there, I would not have seen that. So 22%, 7% near lakes and ponds. I thought that would be higher than that, but it's not. That was kind of surprising to me. Because rivers and creeks and swamps, there were 15%. So maybe flowing water is something that they like better than stagnant or still water. And so maybe that's important. Or maybe it's because lakes are only so big around, and rivers, they can follow for miles looking for food sources. Maybe it's a better food source in that regard. Fields and farmlands. You look out in a field and you see something walking, and so that's really 8% there. Forest and mountains, 23%. And this is the one that really got me. 25% of all the sightings in that database were near a man-made building, a barn or a house or something like that. Something like in Mina, something's coming up to a house and looking in the windows. Maybe they're just curious. Maybe your dog food out, or your gardens, or your orchards, or things like that, or maybe your pets, or just easy picking, an easy meal that it's looking for. But 25% are around human settlements that are coming in at nighttime. I think that's really interesting. All right, DW. All right, the size of a Bigfoot in Arkansas, by far, everybody is reporting a 7-foot tall creature. I'm about 6 foot, so you're looking at something about that tall. 7 foot. Under 5 foot, like a juvenile, there were 10% reported. 6 feet, I thought it would be higher than that, but only 13%. 8 feet, only 20%. 7% at 9 feet, and only 1% said, wow, this was over 10 foot tall. Over 10 foot tall. So those really big males that are out there, they're savvy and you just don't see them. Yeah, their Jim's holding up a footprint up back there. That would be a big guy right there. Maybe they're savvy and they're wise enough not to be seen, or maybe they're just not, they don't live that long. They don't grow that big very often. So 7 foot tall is what we're looking for in Arkansas. DW. Okay, Bigfoot by the pound. These are the estimates, and notice I put estimated on every one of these because you've been to a carnival and somebody's going to guess your weight. I don't know how they do that, but they're pretty accurate, but I'm not. I thought about just selecting some people out here and let me guess your weight, but I'd probably get beat up if I did that, so I'm not going to do that. But 6% said that what they saw was 200 pounds. And granted, it probably, if they're looking at a 5-foot creature, you're not going to say it was 700 pounds. So that you keep that in mind as well. 19%, 300 by far. 31% said it was 350 pounds. Now, I don't know why 350s got in their head like that. If I saw one, I'd probably say it was 1,200 pounds. It was this huge, massive animal. 12%, 400. 20%, 500, and then 6%, 550, and then 6%, 600 pounds. So I'm looking at a 7-foot tall creature, about 350 pounds is what I'm looking for. All right, the color of a Bigfoot, I don't even know if you can see this or not, but I got some black hair up here. 25% had black hair reported in the sighting. 32% said it was a brown-haired animal. Brown hair. 28% red-haired animal, like an Irish setter. And then white Bigfoot was only 15% in Arkansas. There's a white Bigfoot in this area that several people have seen. DW has seen that. And so it's a little bit rare. No, Yanni Blue Eyes back there was on the same four-wheeler when it crossed the road, and she was yawning and had her eyes closed and missed the whole thing as it went across the road. Bless her heart. But I thought, one of the things I thought was interesting, I can understand this, but I was surprised that the red hair was over the black, percentage-wise. I would think the black would probably be dominant, and then the other colors, but that's not how the numbers stacked up. Okay, DW. All right, big feet, tracks. This is how it broke down in Arkansas. 9-inch track, 7%, 10-inch, 4, 11-inch, 11%, 12-inch track, that's a ruler size, that's 7%, and then 13-inch track jumped up, and it was by far the most, 24%. I would think maybe a 16-inch footprint or 15-inch footprint would be the most, but it wasn't. The reason I've thought about this, maybe it's the juveniles that are out old enough to be away from mom and wander around, but they're not smart enough to hide the tracks that they're leaving. And maybe that's why they're seeing 13-inch footprints. I've cast 12-inch footprints twice in Arkansas, and you don't cast many footprints in Arkansas because Arkansas, like here, is really rocky, and you don't have a lot of that good dirt for tracks. But 13-inch by far 24, and then 14 is 14%, 16 is 18%. There you are. It jumps up a little bit, and then 8% for 7, and then it jumps, and some sizes weren't even listed here. 8% for 17, 4% for 18, and then 3% for 22-inch. Only 3% for those really big guys again. So a juvenile, maybe 7 foot could be a juvenile. I don't know. Still could be a juvenile. So keep that in mind. Excuse me. Go ahead. All right. For your best chance to see a Bigfoot, you need to be, and take notes, you need to be a man, okay? Going hunting, okay, in October or June. Now, October is legal, probably June is not, so keep that to yourself, okay? If you're driving, you have a better chance. On a lonely road, at night, in the forest, or near a barn. And that's going to be your best chance to see a Bigfoot, right there, based upon crunching these numbers. All right? Okay, what will you most likely see? You're going to see a brown, 7 foot tall 350-pound animal that's nocturnal. He's probably a male Bigfoot because, let's face it, if you saw a female Bigfoot, you're probably going to take notice of that because of the mammary glands. You're going to notice it's something different. A lot of people don't mention that at all. So I'll just automatically assume that it was a male Bigfoot that they're talking about, okay? Male Bigfoot, he's going to have 13 to 16-inch feet. And that's what kind of tracks you're looking for. So this is what you're looking for. This is your homework, okay? Next year when I come, I want to hear about your homework, all right? So this is what you're looking for. This is crunching the numbers that I have in my database. Go ahead, DW. Okay. If you have any information about Arkansas, you can give it to DW or Big Jim or any of these guys, and they'll make sure I get it. But I would love to add you at the last minute to my book if you have information about activity in Arkansas. And this is my information. I have some cards today, and if you want one of my cards, I'll be happy to give that out to you too. So is there any questions about any of this we have a question over here? Yes.
Several people that we know have said that they are left the headless rabbits, like on their doorstep, people that have activity. And there are people that don't know each other and it comes from different areas. Do you think that that's like a present they're leaving for them or like a peace offering, or what do you think that means?
I wouldn't think so. it may be thinking that, and I've heard of that before, and even with cats, severed cats' heads, and I've heard of that quite a bit. Who knows what they're thinking when they leave things like that? It could be a territorial marker. It could be an intimidation thing. It could be, I love you, and you have no idea what it means. So who knows? But if somebody threw a rabbit head at me, I wouldn't consider it a term of endearment.
Well, these were not thrown. People said
Right.
they were having them left
On the porch.
On the porch,
Yeah.
a headless rabbit all the time,
Yeah.
like it was a gift.
I knew somebody that had an outside well, that something kept playing with the well, and then they started finding dead birds and cat heads and things like that on top of the well. And they had no idea what it meant either. Maybe it meant thanks for the water. I don't know. Okay, what time is it?
10:36, but we're good.
We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay then, thank you guys very much. If you have any questions through the day, I'll be here today, so I'd be happy to talk with you. Thank you guys for being here.